We are winding down in July. We are on the back stretch, the back nine of the month of July, and it's a perfect time in IndyCar because even though it's winding down in July, the season's just picking up, folks. We just left Toronto. We're heading to Iowa for a doubleheader. We got a lot of racing going on, and there's no better place to be than on Speed Street, and that's what this is. That's where we are. I'm Joey Mulinaro. Thanks for being with us, and of course, my partner in crime, my co-host, my pal, the driver of the number 20 Bit Nile ride in the NTT IndyCar Series, Conor Daly. How we doing, bro?
You know what? All is well. Toronto sucked, but we will rebound very, very strong in Iowa. Toronto was almost great. We were on for a decent strategic masterpiece, but it just didn't play out how it needed to. So a lot went on the weekend. It was a tough one, really physical race. But yeah, definitely just ready to get to Iowa to get things going.
Yeah, man, it's a great show today. We're going to recap Toronto. We're going to look ahead to Iowa. We got the SRX Championship coming up this weekend with our pal Marco Andretti leading the points there. He's already been texting me about videos that he wants for the weekend, and if he wins, hiring me to be a jester for him and send him funny videos, which is all good. We're hoping for that. But then we also talked to Graham Rahal. Graham Rahal is a dude that Conor's known for a long time. I have gotten to know and really enjoyed, man. I mean, we had an insightful conversation with Tony Kanaan last week, but Graham really brought it this week, I'd say.
Yeah, absolutely. Known Graham really since I was a kid. Graham was the man who called me on the phone as I was leaving for Europe when I was 18 years old. I was at the airport. I was leading the Indy Lights Championship at the time, and I was off to go begin my European journey, my 4 years in Europe, pursuit of Formula One. And he called me. I'll never forget. He's like, "Are you sure you want to go? Are you sure you want to leave? Like, because you are in a position right now to be a immediate threat in IndyCar, immediately hired to have a job with a good team." And so, he definitely cares. And I respect that. I've known his family. Our moms are best friends. Our dads raced against each other. Graham has fixed my Subaru several times at his Graham Rahal performance shop. Graham has driven me to Cleveland or Toledo, Ohio, to get my Subaru fixed. So Graham's done a lot for me in my career, in my life, in general. And yeah, it's just a great conversation with him because I think he's got a very smart business mind. He's a racing driver, but he's also got very successful businesses. He sells supercars like they're going out of style. And it's just impressive to see his brain work at that level, and it's a great conversation.
Yeah, no doubt. Looking forward to that coming up. But you mentioned it off the top. Toronto was not a great weekend for you. You were honest about it. Some things that just didn't go your way, and I kind of was curious about them. Take us through on Saturday, kind of what happened and what ensued there to why it set you up for a tough Sunday.
Yeah, well, what's interesting about when I joined Ed Carpenter Racing, we were just getting into the Aeroscreen era, and our first season together, was just awful all across the board, and it's not the team's fault. I think all of us in general, me as a driver, struggling to get to grips with the car, with the Aeroscreen, and how it changed the handling, and we kind of knew what we wanted to do. And then the next season, 2021, a lot of places we were a lot better. Several places I want to say almost every track we qualified better than we did in 2020. And then obviously this year has been my strongest, points year ever. So, we are improving, but Toronto is a place that we haven't been to yet since the Aeroscreen era. And so all we have is really information from, 2019 when the team ran there. I was obviously not with the team. I hadn't raced there since 2018. And again, it was a struggle for both Renus and I. It was very, very similar to our Long Beach struggles. I think we clearly have, some things that we want to work on as a team, for that street course package. I would say that has been our probably our weak spot for sure this year. And I think we know, a little bit about what it is. But we changed a lot over the weekend. We tried to, the team worked their butts off to try to give me the car that we needed. And then in qualifying, it just ended up being a disaster anyway. A lot of comments on how that all worked out. And even my dad called me for like a 30-minute conversation trying to understand what went on. And the fact of the matter was, in qualifying, right, there's only, 13 cars in our group. The track is plenty wide enough or plenty long enough for 13 cars to get a gap to do laps. And on that first lap of the qualifying session, right, everyone goes out, everyone's trying to get a gap so you never get traffic. And I was the last car out of pit lane, right? We were very far back in the pit lane. We were the last car out. And so, obviously we're going to be trying to get a gap. Everyone's trying to get a gap, but there was one driver who decided that they needed more of a gap than anyone else, even though we're only doing 3 laps. And that's annoying because it's not necessary. And I think I thought we all understood that, look, you get a gap for qualifying. No one is a second faster than anyone in this qualifying session. So you're not going to go through a 3-second, 4-second gap in 2 laps. So I don't care how big your ego is. You're not going to catch the guy in front of you. You're not. I'm sorry. Even if it's Jimmy and poor Jimmy was all right this weekend. He was not too bad, but someone decided to delay everything. And when I got around turn 6, turn 7, which is the timeline is exiting turn 8, Kyle Kirkwood and I believe Devlin DeFrancesco, another car, were kind of still parked in front of me. And so then I'm backing off to try to get a gap behind me. And then all of it just added up. My team's timing and scoring froze on their pit stand. So then they can't tell me that Colton's coming up behind me. So when I go, I'm trying to start. This is on my out lap too. So our tires are still cold and Colton's already had his out lap and lap number 1. And so his tires are nice and warm. Sure enough, I get to turn 11 and Colton's right on my gearbox. I'm like, well, there goes that session. And like you get a penalty, which I have a huge problem with this penalty in general, because you lose your 2 fastest laps because I was blocking, but like I blocked someone, but I was on my out lap. You know what I mean? I was like, so no one is going to set their fastest time on that lap. So why does that even matter? You know what I mean? So I don't, it was very frustrating to obviously see that. I don't dispute the rule, because if I got blocked, I would want someone to obviously get penalized for that. But like, there was no intentional thing. Like I talked to Colton afterwards. He's like, yeah, it didn't really matter. Like it was just lap 1. I was like, yes, thank you. I get it. And it was just kind of like a whole just tumultuous situation that should have been avoided in the first place. But in reality, one thing leads to another. Then there's a red flag. Your 2 fastest laps were eliminated. So we were going to start last anyway. So it was just a real shame to start last. But it is what it is. My teammates started 20th. We were both just on the struggle bus for sure. And I would say in the race, we definitely made an improvement. I would say in the race, when we were able to strategically kind of work our way forward, I passed 5 cars in 2 laps, or 4 cars in 2 laps at the beginning, kind of got us up there a little bit. And then, strategically, we took advantage of it, pitted right away to get rid of the red so we could run the primary tire the rest of the race. Obviously got up to second place when my teammate was leading, and we stayed there. So like it was a really, it was an interesting situation, because honestly, when we got to second, and actually when I was ahead of Newgarden as well for a whole stint, we were like 5th or 6th or 4th or 5th, I don't know, but like those guys couldn't pass us. So there were several tweets that I saw that were saying that like I was really slow, and I was like, well, no, because like if we were, then wouldn't have everyone else passed us? Like, I don't get it. Like, we were not the fastest car. Like, we knew that, but like, still, it doesn't matter. You have to be like, we're still racing. So if you're not fast enough to get by me, well, then I'm not just going to go away. You know what I mean? So
right.
Exactly. And when we were second, guess who's behind me? Dixon won the race. Dixon was trying to pass me. Like, I could see it. Had to defend from him a couple times, but then the yellows just played out the way that everyone else needed, and the way we didn't. And my teammate got really lucky as well, and on when he pitted, and was able to still gain like a bunch of track position, because Oh my gosh, it was just so frustrating to watch because like Renus and I should have been in exactly the same position, but because he stayed out and pitted on the next yellow, the yellow flag was in the sector that is right next to pit lane. So he was able to pit, go faster than we were on track because we were avoiding Jimmy Johnson and Kyle Kirkwood in the wall. And Renus comes out like 13th instead of cycling all the way to the back. Because normally, if you pit from the lead, you think you're probably going to go all the way to the back, but nope, not this time. So it was a good, very, very fortunate thing for them. And again, track position did seem to be super important. I don't, there was some overtaking, but not as much as I was expecting, not as much as we saw at, I think, other places, especially on that last stint. It just seemed like not many people were going anywhere. So a very, very interesting race overall.
I do want to get your thoughts on the incident that happened between Alexander Rossi and Felix Rosenqvist. Going into turn 3 there after that straightaway, right? You saw a lot of people trying to pass on that straightaway, and then heading into 3, it's like, am I going to back off? Am I going to give up the spot? And Rossi and Rosenqvist were not, neither one of them were giving it up, and it ended up with Rossi in the wall. I don't know if you've been able to see any highlights, see any Twitter highlights, whatever. What do you think about it?
Yeah, that's tough because I went side by side with a couple different people through that corner, and it definitely is possible. But I mean, I definitely think Felix fed him a bit of a wheel. I mean, you can't, but it also, like, if that would have hit Rossi in the side pod, or like if it would have hit him on the side of the car and not the wheel, I think it would have been a very different reaction as well. But yeah, sadly, the way they made contact is what shot Alex into the wall. I don't even know if it actually broke something on the right front as well. But yeah, just that was a tough one. I mean, I hated to see it for Alex, but obviously Felix is going to be, fighting like a mad hog right now. I mean, he's going to be, everyone's signing for McLaren, and he wants to be the guy still. And I respect him for having a great race, his first podium with the team. But it definitely was a bit egregious. I would say it was a bit like, I mean, obviously there's no penalties being handed out for anything, and driving standards are, I think, a little lower than we would like. But yeah, I mean, what goes around comes around. You got to say.
Yeah, look, I mean, see, because as I'm watching it, him and Rossi are battling for a handful of laps there, and they get Rosenqvist's radio, and literally right before it happens, they're like, "Hey, Rossi's getting a little sloppy. Should be able to make a move here." And then all of a sudden it comes to turn 3, and that happens. Now, how much of you're sitting in the seat, right? And Rosenqvist knows the stakes. Rosenqvist knows that the man in front of him, Rossi, is coming over to McLaren next year. It's already been out there. Is that going through Rosenqvist's head? Is he driving Rossi and he's thinking, hey, there's a little bit added of a chip to be able to say, you know what, I'm going to bump you around a little bit because, like you said, he's fighting like a hog for his spot.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of subconscious thoughts in racing. There's a lot of things that you don't actively think about, but they're going on in the back of your head, right? Like when Pagenaud was 2 cars in front of me, right? Like at the last stint, I'm like, I don't care what happens, but I got to get this guy. You know what I mean? Like, didn't matter who was in front of me, what was going on. It didn't happen, but like it does cross your mind, right? Like like people that you've had a beef with, or people that you've got, some interesting history with, it's going to go through your head. And for sure, Felix, why not? Like sometimes you make moves with a little bit more passion, with a little bit more aggression because of what's going on the outside. Felix wants to be an IndyCar driver. I think he wants to be, more respected in that team, and why not go for it? It was a late move too. Like the brake zone, for some reason, to kind of give people like a technical, I guess, analysis of Toronto, I would say the brake zones were very, very, the most challenging brake zones that we've had all year for some reason. I know on our car, we were really struggling with the rear tires locking on the initial stab of the brake pedal, trying to go forward on the brake bias, but not dragging the fronts in at the apex of turn 3. Turn 3 is a probably one of the heaviest break zones that we have really on our calendar, because you're hauling the mail down that straight, flying on overtake, high 180s, almost 190 miles an hour, into a first skier hairpin that kind of goes uphill. And so that's a real challenging break zone. But it seemed like some of the cars, some of the teams, had real strong braking capability, and some of the teams didn't. Even, my teammate Felix, when he got passed by Pato, he was like, I have no idea how he was able to brake that late and still make the corner. You know what I mean? So there's definitely some different philosophies on, on braking and setups that were helping, certain cars in Toronto. But yeah, tough situation for Alex. Hate to see that for him. But more fuel for his fire when we come out swinging in Iowa.
For sure. I did think it was really interesting. I tweeted about it, how we had some pretty close contact there with Ericsson and Palou. They were going back and forth for a while. You had the red on the blue car. There's some nasty drama brewing, man. I was like, please give me a little bit more contact. Give me a little bit more between these two, because can you imagine if Palou would have bumped Ericsson out, or vice versa, how much we're just even thrown in even more, like NBC said, the cauldron of hate. I mean, it would have been brutal.
Man, I wish I would have seen it. Because it was so close too. And that was such a late move by Alex. That's not really his thing. And like, he easily could have cut Marcus's left rear tire as well. Like, he definitely made contact with him. And, thankfully these cars and the Firestone tires are pretty tough for sure. But I was just surprised. It was almost like one of those kind of launch yourself out of a cannon moves into the brake zone that don't normally work. Like, it was one of those things where as soon as Alex did it, you could tell he was trying to get out of it, and there wasn't a lot of room to play with there. But there's definitely some stuff going on the grid here, and we're literally multiple times in that race, you were inches away from a bigger accident. Will Power throwing his car down the inside at the start into Grosjean, like that should have been a 4-car accident. Like, I actually don't know what Will Power was doing. Like, when I saw that replay, I was like, he literally just was never going to stop the car until he hit another car. And like, he happened, like the wheel bounced out of his hand and happened to catch it in the right area to keep going. But like, that should have been a big accident. Alex almost hitting Marcus, that should have been a big accident, because that was, again, in a real tight area of the track where everyone's stacked up. So, we're just inches away from kind of bigger incidents that have a major impact on the season. Because again, even Will Power is up there for the points, and he almost took himself out of it right out the gate. And that one was not Grosjean's fault at all. That one was just like, man, I don't know what Will was doing, but yeah, there was a lot of interesting near misses at Toronto. But in general, that race, I mean, it was great to see the people there kind of to get away from the racing. Like, it was an awesome crowd. Great to be back in Toronto. Even if the Toronto airport was the least efficient airport I've ever seen, it was an incredible experience just to be back there and experience the Canadian fans. It's something a little bit different. It makes you feel, it kind of gives you a bit of a Formula One vibe. Like, it gives you like the fans that are there, like, they're very passionate about, whatever driver it is. Like, it just seems like we're kind of at a higher level there than some of the US races. But it was just great to be back.
Yeah, man, it looked like it was packed from Friday on, which is great to see. I know they've been dying for y'all to get back up there, and y'all made it up there, which was great. Can't move on from Toronto without talking about the history that was made real quick. Kudos to Scott Dixon. We saw it. The Master picks up a historic win, tied for second all time. And IndyCar wins with the legendary Mario Andretti just trailing AJ Foyt, and like Hinch and Townsend were talking about on the broadcast. Man, Scott looks good. He's driving incredibly good still. Who knows if he's not, got another 5, 6, however many years left in him. But it's got to be pretty wild to drive with somebody that's up there in those historic charts.
Yeah, I mean, Scott's obviously, he's going to go down in history as one of the best, if not the best ever. And I mean, Scott was in control. I mean, even when I was in front of him, I had to throw a block on Scott Dixon, but like, Scott Dixon just then settles in. You know what I mean? And I'm like, all right, like, I get what's going on here. He can clearly see the future, and like, me and Renus are only going to be up there really if we get this strategy to work perfectly. We needed it to go green all the way to the end because we didn't have to stop and everyone else did. We were literally, if that Kirkwood Jimmy Johnson caution doesn't happen, I mean, we're on the verge of maybe being the only cars that don't have to stop again. So it was so close, but obviously you want to be on Scott Dixon's strategy more often than not because it always works out. And he just did exactly what he needed to do to win. So, him and his engineer, Michael Cannon, who was a great friend of mine, Michael Cannon engineered me my rookie year at Toronto to 7th place. So it's like, so clearly Michael knows what's going on there. And it's great to see for those guys. And it also spices things up a little bit more. Now that Dixon's, people start worrying as soon as Dixon starts winning again. They're like, uh-oh, now does he win the next 6? You know what I mean? Like, is he on a heater now? And I'm like, I don't know about that. Like, Iowa's going to be tough for everyone, and that's Joseph Newgarden's area to be strong. So very, 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 very good weekend overall for sure. For Dixon, at least.
No, for Dixon, I mean, Ganassi, really. They were in turmoil the whole week, and then all of a sudden you get 1st, 5th, 6th, and, Jimmy, what happened there? But you get 3 cars in the top 6 for Ganassi. Yeah, I guess that's just what they do. All right, man, you want to talk to Graham?
Yeah, let's get into it with him. Well, as we mentioned, we have a great guest this week, a man that I have known for many years of my life. Our parents, our friends, our fathers competed against each other. I'm fairly sure our moms are like best friends. And it is the driver of the number 15 that has more sponsors than anyone else on the grid, Graham Rahal. So thank you, Graham, for being here.
Thank you. And I think you're right about our moms. Every time I talk to my mom, she's with Beth every single time.
There you go. And for those who also don't know, I lived with Graham's stepfather in England for like 3 years. So I dated Graham's younger sister. I lived with his stepdad. This is a long time connection to the Rahal family, and everyone's always been very good to me there. So I'm very, very appreciative.
Yeah. Were you protective big brother, or what was your role there? You got Conor coming in. Were you giving him a cold shoulder? Were you welcoming?
I was a little bit of both. I mean, he was like a little brother at the time. They were young, so I think it was fairly harmless play back then. Knowing him today, I'd probably be a little more nervous, but back then we were good. I remember those days well, man. Running back and forth to Indy from Columbus, and I was doing the opposite. I was dating a girl in Indy, so kind of worked out sometimes that's the way we could carpool back and forth. But yeah, man, we go back a long ways. Obviously with Chris, with my stepdad, and in England, Conor, I was thinking about last night when I said that on the radio in Barber, like 20 years ago, feels like now.
Yeah.
But I was running up front, and I just decided to scream through the radio, "Hey, make sure Conor remembers he lived with my stepdad." I was just looking for any favor for you to wave me by as quick as you could. But anyway, it's all good.
I remember.
And I was saying it jokingly, but most people did not get it. Most people don't get my humor, and that's okay. I have no problem with that.
That's all right. There's a lot of miscommunicated radio messages and a lot of interesting things that happen in our sport, and it's all good. We go back a long way, but I have a lot of questions for you, many questions, but obviously we'll keep it to a few. But I think what's been very interesting, if we get right into racing, like Graham Rahal did not forget how to drive this year. Like, we all know that. Like, drivers don't just randomly forget how to drive. Like, you guys for sure, I think, have had a tougher season than people expected it to go. And like, we know that Jack Harvey went there, and Christian Lundergardner Smithsteinville, and he, like, good guys. Everyone's come together. Like, I know a lot of the engineers on the team, a lot of the crew guys, obviously, for a long time. But like, this new era of IndyCar, I think it's obviously got a very, very small window, and you guys definitely nailed it in Toronto, right? All 3 cars looked a lot faster. You were back at the front, like I think Graham normally is. Is there something that you've been working on to get to that point, or what has been the contributing factor, you think, to this season so far?
Well, I think overall in the year it's just been brutal. I think it's, as you said, it's so competitive, but it's such a small window that we started to chase down, clearly the wrong path. But once you get down that path, it's really hard to revert back in the period of time that we have. It's not like you can go test all the time. It's not like you can do much on the race weekends. Heck, we all keep talking about it. the fans have been disappointed because on Friday there's only one session. None of us run for half of it. Well, that's because there's no tires, and it's like, as we said in drivers meeting in Toronto, like, give us more tires, man. We'll run the whole time. We could use it. Trust me, we could use it. But, we just went down the wrong side, I think. And, really got lost and, just haven't been competitive at all. We found some really good stuff, I think, for the street course package that showed in Toronto. But having said that, I mean, we were very good. But at the end of that race, man, I was hanging onto my tail pretty hard, and Ericsson's behind me, and I mean, those Ganassi cars are still clearly a way big step ahead of me and even where we were. So we there's more clearly to be found, and hopefully in Nashville, that's the next time we'll get to test that side out. But Nashville, we'll find some more. But yeah, dude, it's been frustrating, and I know we get a lot of criticism. I think. I'm a fairly easy target, with my name and everything too. It's a big target on my back that I've lived with for a long time. And, but this year, some of the stuff that's gone around about, our team in general and our capabilities and stuff, it's false. We're a hell of a team. But this happens. I think people forget, you probably wouldn't, but a handful of years ago, Ganassi was in this spot, and midsummer, went and did a test similar to us in Sebring. And next thing you know, they came back at Toronto, and I think Dixie won or was right up front. So it happens even to the best of them. We just got to claw our way back out.
Graham, I know that Mid-Ohio is, pretty much your home course, right? It's, out there in OH for you, near Columbus. But with this weekend in Iowa, I mean, a lot of partnership, a lot of sponsored tie-in for the Rahal group. Does this kind of feel like another home race for you guys there in your squad?
It's a big one, dude. It's a big one for us. I would say it's bigger than Ohio in that regard, just because of the commitment that Hy-Vee has put into this thing. I mean, when we signed up, or when I was in the sponsor meeting pitching them, geez, what was it? 2000 end of 2020, maybe, about all the things that we could do together. I remember, Randy Ediker, the CEO, looked at me and goes, "Wait, you're not going back to Iowa?" And I was like, well, actually, no. And, I could see the fire in his eyes going, okay, we're going to fix that. And they still did the program for 2021, did 10 races with us, came back this year in full force, right, with Jack, which has been amazing. But dude, the amount of effort and the money that they've put into this Iowa deal is astounding. I would say not a single sponsor, even a sponsor of the Indy 500, hasn't spent the kind of dough Hy-Vee has spent to bring those 4 great music acts to. I mean, you guys probably saw my social media post, but the stands, and on the that was turn 1 and 2 with the kind of suites. If you go to turn 3 and 4, it's basically like a viewing deck out there that's the same. I mean, you'll be looking down on the race cars. If somebody crashes, it's going to be underneath you pretty much. And if you're camping, right? If you're out there camping, man, they're building basically a mobile grocery store. And if you're out camping, order your groceries online, put in your campsite, and they'll deliver them to your campsite. I mean, they're doing stuff that we've never seen before, at least in our sport. And so this is a big one for us to go out and be strong. But there's a lot of guys that are good there. I mean, Conor, you've been great there. We finished up front there a handful of times, never won it, but been close a couple of times. But obviously Penske, they might as well just rename the track after Joseph. So, that's the target we got to beat. But it's massive. There's going to be thousands of people. I think there's 8,000 Hy-Vee employees alone coming each day. So, it's a big deal for us to make sure that we go out and we perform well for them.
Yeah, it's awesome, man. I mean, the work that your team does and the work that like you in particular do with all the partners, I think is really incredible. And the Hy-Vee program, I mean, every driver in IndyCar should be thankful for them. Handwrite them a note or something, because like it really is impressive. Like when we went there for the test, we didn't get to go there with like the majority of the cars. We went there with Andretti just like 2 weeks ago, and they were working on those giant scaffolding type spectator areas. And it's almost like they're building like a football stadium type atmosphere around this racetrack. And the concerts, I mean, it's incredible. I mean, none of those people I've seen live yet, but you're like, I would like to see all of them live at some point in my life. And, you know, we're a little busy, but it's something that you are right. I don't know if we've seen that type of, I guess not necessarily activation, but I guess it is a combination of activation, but also passion to make an event like the coolest event. I would say Gateway did a really good job when they came back. Like they've done a really good job with their event. Obviously Indy's Indy, but like to create something like Iowa is, I mean, it's always been a great race, I think, but now it's like, wow, we want to go there. You know what I mean? And it's something that's like back on the schedule. It's 2 races that are presented by, you know, DoorDash and Google. I mean, those are like, those are big names. And like, I assume that you guys and your team were involved a lot with how, like, was Iowa coming back on the schedule like a major reason why Hy-Vee is the primary on Jack's car for like the whole year?
Well, so the way that whole thing started, first off, you're right. I think Curtis and Chris and the guys at St. Louis, they nailed it too. You know, they know how to promote. In fact, I was saying to IndyCar, like, get Curtis and Chris and get their tails to Dallas, Texas, and get them to promote that race. You know, get Curtis and Chris and get them to go out and do Portland and play things like that. You know, because there's races that could definitely, I'm not saying they're bad. And so people listen to this that work for those companies, I'm not saying they're bad, but I am saying that there's a different mentality and approach that these people have taken, you know, to change things. And so for me, you know, I think Hy-Vee is what they've done. They come in and the one thing I've learned about them is they literally aren't going to do it unless they can do it 100% right, period. I mean, hell, I was in a TV commercial last year for them that had Pink, Wahlberg, Danica was in there. They had Mahomes, Kelsey, like, dude, I was like, what are we doing in here? But that's the way that they approach things. You know, it's like they're gonna do it to the max. In fact, I think this weekend Wahlberg's coming. I believe a couple of their other celebrities are coming. I know Letterman will be there, so it's a big deal. And like, dude, if they can do that in Newton, Iowa, then we ought to be able to do that in Dallas, Texas, or we ought to be able to do that in so many other places, right? And even Indy, which I love and is the end all be all in my heart, but like the musical acts at Iowa are better than Indy. It's just the truth, you know.
Well, I don't know if you've been to the Snake Pit. Graham.
Okay,
he's not talking Snake Pit. He's talking
Snake Pit. All right, I'm too old for that category, brother. That's all for you. But
me and Graham both are okay. We're dads now, all right.
Yeah,
Conor,
exactly.
We can't take it out to the Snake
Exactly.
Pit.
But no, I mean, I think the Hy-Vee thing, the way that Iowa came back, I could see the look in Randy's eyes, man. I went to Indy for the open test in 2021. And I saw Bud, Danker, and Roger walking through the parking lot. And I stopped and I said, hey, I gotta talk to you guys about something. I think we can do something here. And I said, look, they haven't said it to me, but I really think that Hy-Vee wants Iowa back. And I said, so can I connect you with my dad and get you connected with Randy and see what we can do? And about a month later, it was, you know, a done deal that it was happening. And you know, and I'll give credit to I mean, Bud Danker, man, that guy's the man. He is the freaking man. And
for sure,
you know, for those who don't know, he's kind of Roger's right-hand man who does everything. It's unbelievable. But, you know, he was out there, you know, they spent millions just painting Iowa Speedway, and that's all on Roger too. You know, that wasn't all necessarily Hy-Vee, but, you know, Roger wants this place to look great for the fans and to be, you know, an inviting place to go to. So, you know, I think they've done a hell of a job as well. So hats off to all of them.
Graham, would you say you're the most honest IndyCar driver in the series?
I think I'm at the point in my career that I don't really care that much anymore. So I just tell it like it is. It's funny because I got all of my teammates.
Same.
They're young bucks, you know, and you know, Jackson was like, hey man, say this, hey, do this. And it's like their new like dare every weekend is what idiotic thing can they get me to say? But to be honest, dude, I've always liked to be honest. Most people just didn't really like that for most of my career. You know, I remember back in the day, I won't say who, but one of the high up team principals, who's still a very high up team principal at one of the best teams, said, why would you hire Graham? He said, because he talks too much. That's just who I am. I don't know really what to say. This year, well, it's kind of what Conor just said. First off, man, I grew up a massive fan of the sport. So takeaway driving, I'm a massive fan of IndyCar racing, and it's what I've always loved. So this year, I feel like one of my things is like when I do an interview, like I want to get a little more in depth to explain to why we do what we do, because you got to find a way to hook a fan in. You got to find a way to hook somebody like Toronto. I was meeting with a bunch of United Rentals folks that are, 5 or 8 of them maybe have been race fans, but the other 50 or 60 had never been to a race. Just trying to find one way to get them intrigued, one way to lock them in, and they ended up having the time of their lives. So that's all I'm trying to do, is just something, I don't know, just try to get outside the box a little bit because I can, and I am coming. I'm not to the end yet, but I'm getting closer. And so in that regard, I might as well say what I think.
Well, I mean, I feel the same way. Like I've always like I definitely talk too much for sure, but like I don't have like winning trophies like you do yet to back it up, because I feel like if you win, you can definitely say more. But like we're definitely working on it, and we're gonna get there at some point. But it's also, both of us, I think, talk from a point where like we actually just like really care about what we're doing. Like we love what we're doing. It's like it's also like puts food on our table too. So like there's something that we will say something to better our series, right? Like we want to be better. We want to, because we were fans first. We grew up around it. We grew up in the paddock as kids, and like, Joey's become a fan, and we're trying to make all these new fans out of it. And sometimes you have to say things to get the boat rowing or get something going a certain way. Because we all want this series to grow. And even I saw, a tweet of yours last night about like, being patient about our like an IndyCar, like something to get this show on the road, or whether it's a show or whether it's something exciting. Cause you got all this, NASCAR street races, IMSA, cool cars. And we're just kind of sitting here and we're like, what's going to happen? And I think I know what you were referring to, but I don't know yet. But I mean, obviously you think there's some good, positive things coming here for us eventually.
Yeah, dude, I worry all the time. And I called Jay Fry. Jay's my boy. I love the man. Although I still think that the officials ruling in Toronto was garbage, but that's a different topic.
Well, yeah, same.
But like Jay, like I'm on him all the time, and Bud and Jonathan Gibson, at Penske Entertainment, like, guys, what is going on? Like Vegas, F1 announces Vegas, NASCAR announces Chicago, which is great because guess what? Now they're not going to Road America, so come freaking all hang out with us. Forget about that. We put on a better show there anyway. So like, I'm all right with all of that. But as I said to him, like, I want to, like, what are we doing to push the needle forward? And the response I got, I can't put in a public forum.
Yeah.
But there's stuff happening. And it changed my opinion too, because I was like, starting to be like, dude, like what for the TV
can't get
show,
left behind. Can't get left behind.
Yeah. The TV show, I'm sure you were involved. It was supposed to be me and Jack and Gracie were featured. And so like, great. If that happens, great. But to be very frank with you, like me on a personal level, the last thing I really want is a TV camera following me around doing what I do. Like I'd much.
We need it, Graham. I suggested you.
I'd much rather just live my life.
But you live a great lifestyle. People like that stuff. We need a camera following Graham Rahal around.
But I mean, I do think on the racing side, like there's definitely some good stuff coming. And dude, you look at the car count up. You look at the places we're currently going. People forget, like, oh, IndyCar's done nothing. We got Nashville last year, downtown. What do you mean we're doing nothing? That's a big catch. And it was a massive success. This year's going to be even better. Like that, it's not like they're sitting back doing nothing. Yeah. But I think what can come over the next 2 years is from what I heard, is awesome. And dude, if I got to go to bat and I got to go meet with politicians and, try to get stuff to happen, I'm all in, man. I was involved in the early Baltimore conversations with Lanigan. Like, I'll go do that. Now I'll speak and do what we can. But I think also getting sponsors like Hy-Vee in here moves the weight a lot because, they're very influential in the state of Iowa. The Governor Reynolds out there in Iowa, like they love Hy-Vee. They're a massive employee-owned company that, getting companies like that more involved, but also getting companies that are already in the sport that are like that to push their weight around would make a massive difference. And I hope if Iowa does one thing, it's to get other sponsors to realize, oh shit, we can do that too. You know, we can make that happen, no matter where you're from. So, you know, that's great. I mean, look, I brought up to Jay Fry the other day too. Like, I know we race in Mid Ohio. I love Mid Ohio, but Cleveland's right up the road. That airport's empty.
Yeah.
Okay? You know, it's a booming town. Like, hey, let's look at Cleveland. You know, what about a street race downtown Columbus, Ohio? You got Nationwide Arena. You've got the Crew Stadium. You've got Ohio State. You've got Nationwide Insurance, one of my partners. You've got Mark Kwame, who races in IMSA GT3 in the Cup. You know, Mark Kwame is a massively influential guy in Central Ohio. You know, I feel like at least our name will have some value there. Like racing down on the old Tangi River, like they did in 1986 when Dad won the sports car. Dude, that would be epic. And you know how young the fan base is in Columbus?
Yep.
Like,
right.
dude, they're kids. They're all college kids. That's what we need. So just putting different ideas in their head to kind of get the wheels going. Like that's what it's all about, man. And we're going to keep trying to do that.
All right. On to Scram time. What do you think about Romain Grosjean right now?
You know, he's just still not my favorite guy. He's just that. We'll leave it at that.
Grosjean or Rossi? Grosjean or Rossi?
In that case,
yeah.
I mean, I go with like a very frustrating racing incident.
Yeah.
I think when you're side by side up there, dude, like that's gonna be when you're side by side up there, that's always gonna be a tough one to stay out of trouble. But the thing is, I think Grosjean still, I strongly feel that he believes his car is a weapon and he's not afraid to use it. You know, like Toronto, even we're going down the back straight on the start and I'm to his right. I am there. And he just squeeze. Like, I mean, he's just going to put me, like, literally, he was just going to drive me straight into the fence. And finally, I thought to myself, you know what? It's lap one. Like, I'm just going to bail out here and I'll just keep going. But I just think that that's, like, there are guys who have great spatial awareness and that you race with. You can race with, like, Simon Pagenaud, man. You can race Simon Pagenaud so hard.
I disagree.
I was going to say.
Really?
I disagree.
Scott, well, and maybe it's me, dude. Like we've been racing each other literally 20 years or 18. And we've never had you know, like it's always been pretty. So maybe that starts then. Cause like Grosjean certainly wouldn't say my spatial awareness is good, even though I'm sure I'm highly to blame for Barber being on the edge of the track. But anyway, but like Dixie, you know, guys like that, you can race fair. And then there's other guys that, man, you just flat out can't. You know, and you gotta know those dudes, and we know them, and that's just what we try to do.
We do, and so I have an interesting question more about the future of the sport because I think your brain definitely thinks about it at a high level. And you mentioned, so we have High V that's brought back this incredible event in Iowa, right? That's 2 races. We only have 17 on our calendar. I personally, we need 20. I think 20 races equally spread out, a good schedule like that. I like that idea, but you know, maybe it is, do we need more partners? Like I would like to go to Richmond, right? Like, I think we should go to Richmond like we were supposed to. I think we should go to, you know, maybe more street races like you suggested as well. There's several tracks that could easily take an IndyCar race, but is it going to take a partner like Hy-Vee or whoever else you got, whether it's United Rentals or BitNile, whatever it is, like, you know, BitNile has put a ton into our program, ton into the sport. They love it. They've got hospitality sections. They're getting heavily involved. They love IndyCar racing. And there's got to be more people like that who see, you know, what goes on. And I'm very curious that like after this weekend, right? Because it's on NBC. So it's going to get great, you know, great coverage, 2 races, you know, DoorDash, Google, all these things. Like, is it going to need that type of business, I guess, exposure to get more events? Or I don't know what the answer is, but like we need to get to 20 races, I think.
Yeah, well, first off, 20 is magic in my head too. I've always said that. I think that you're right on a business standpoint. I think business is critical that those sponsors that are very influential in those areas, that they start to swing some weight around. But at the same time, man, we got Roger Penske, and time too, like for Roger and Greg and the family, like, dude, your power, your name power, but your business power in so many places is so great that I would start flexing that muscle as much as possible. Not saying they're not, because if you look at like the new series sponsors and stuff, it might as well be whoever's on Joseph's car pretty much is a series sponsor now. But at the same time, so clearly they're flexing their muscle in that regard, which is great because it gives us all stability, and we're happy to see them. But at the same time too, Roger's connection to a lot of these municipalities, look at what he's done in Detroit. I mean, single-handedly, he's changed it. Now, he doesn't want to go personally fund that. But if I'm looking at 20, where do I need to get? I'll just say it, man, and I'm going to upset some people in saying this. But, like, Portland's not very nice right now.
Yep.
Okay?
Agreed.
So I would leave Portland. I would go to Seattle. Or I would go somewhere in the Pacific Northwest. We need to be there. We need to be there. Okay. So let's try to find something, because who is. NASCAR's looking there. F1's going to look there because of the fact that, all of the Microsofts and everybody else that are partnering there. Okay. But like you just said, we've got some tech involved in this business too. Let's go. Let's make that happen. After that, like I said, I would actually look at trying to get a race, whether it's Cleveland or whether maybe even it's going towards Pittsburgh or something like that. Very influential, obviously. There's another, I'm not going to say the name, but a competing bank that sponsors the number 9 car that's not Fifth Third Bank, who sponsors me. But obviously they're in Pittsburgh. So, to do something down by what is Heinz Field? Now I don't care what
Graham, come on.
I don't care what they call it now. It's Heinz Field. To do something down in that section with Joey, you've been there. There's hotels, there's restaurants, there's everything else literally right there. We could race right in the heart of Pittsburgh. And with Ganassi's connections and everything else, it could be super badass, man, to hit that.
Or bridges, tons of bridges there.
Yeah. And I think we got to go. I think we got to dip up into Canada again. Look at the crowd in Toronto, man. But I think why can't a Vancouver come back? Maybe you run a
Edmonton.
You run a Seattle, Vancouver back to back, or you go back to Edmonton. Edmonton was always a zoo. And on the airport, it was always killer too. So, with things like that, I feel like it would be great to see that happen. I mean, there's a lot of markets that are massive that that I feel like could use an IndyCar race and it'd be highly entertaining. I would personally, I know this isn't maybe favorite topic in the Daly household, the Bulls Daly household, but I wouldn't have a second Indy Grand Prix. I think it's taken away from the first Indy Grand Prix. I like the first Indy Grand Prix that it's the kickoff to my month of May.
Yes.
I put my eggs in that basket, and I would focus on Indy is May. May is Indy. And we go through that, and then I'd hit some of these other markets. I mean, I understand the power of IndyCar, on the Brickyard weekend and things like that. But to me, I would try to hit. I agree. We need to get some ovals on the track on the deal too. So, maybe Richmond. If you look at IndyCar's TV ratings, which I study all the time, not the actual number, but the locations, right? Yes. I look at where people are watching. Richmond is always way up there. You're not going to get 100,000 people or 90,000 people in Richmond anymore. But let's be honest, when you go to a short oval and you get 30,000 and people are like, oh, that's a bad crowd. You know what? That's more than almost every other major sporting event gets on a weekly basis. That's more than the NBA is going to get at any game. That's more than the NHL is going to get at any game. That's more than 99% of the Major League Baseball franchises are going to ever get. When you go to the Angels Stadium, and not to knock on them, but there's 1,000 people there. It's not. So it's not that those crowds are bad. It's just the grandstands were built so massively that everything now looks kind of poor. And in our sport, since Marlboro stopped just shelling out tickets to everybody, it kind of ruined the crowd in Richmond. But I still think Richmond's a great place. I think today's IndyCar formula is different than what we had in 08, 09 when we raced there. So let's see, man. But I do think that there's some good opportunities out there to go chase.
Well, Graham, I know we both could listen to you talk about all this for hours because you're a very smart guy, a very innovative guy, a very talented guy, and we appreciate the time, man. We've been wanting to get you on, so appreciate you taking some time today to influence us with your knowledge, and best of luck in Iowa this weekend, man.
Yeah, I have I want to get one quick reaction because I think it's funny to get everyone's reaction on how in the world did Alex Palou sign for two different teams in one day? Please give us your quick reaction to that.
I don't know, but all I know is it's going to cost some serious lawyer money now, baby.
I mean, you're a former Ganassi driver. We know Chip is he's a tough fella. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen here, but it's going to be wild.
Dude, you got two giants in the room. You got two egos going. Yeah, the only guys that are going to win in this case are the lawyers, brother. They're going to get a nice little payday. And, dude, I don't know what's going to happen. I keep asking your teammate, hey, man, when are you announcing in the 10? And he keeps acting like I'm a total idiot, whatever. But all I know is like, dude, all right. The thing I don't get is like, if you're Palou, like, dude, you're not going to do better there. You're not. Like the Ganassi cars right now are fire, dude. The Indy 500, they were in a league of their freaking own. Not even, I know the McLaren's finished up front too, but they weren't even close.
We were not going to beat Dixon. We were not going to beat Dixon. Yeah.
It's like, what do you mean? Why would you go? Okay, you got the F1 carrot, but that's now being dangled in front of 20 different kids. Like, at some point you got to go, all right, like Colton is likely that boy. Why is Colton likely that boy? Because Colton is the single fastest dude I've ever seen in an IndyCar aside from willpower, in my opinion. And Zach's no idiot. There's money in America. Formula One's trying to come to America. Why wouldn't you have an American driver who clearly can win? Okay. So if I'm Palou and some of these other, like, I got to just go, hey, I'm going to stay here and keep winning my championships. And then maybe somebody else will give me a call. But man, it sounds pretty sloppy. Sounds sloppy. We'll see what happens, man.
Actually, I got one more for you. I got one more for you real quick. Not even on that. I want to know, we're like 40 days away from college football. Ohio State's record. What happens for the Buckeyes?
Dude, I think they're going to be really good this year. We're good every year, but I feel like new defensive coordinator. That was our only weakness last year. We led the nation in scoring and in offense. I mean, they can freaking score. That's not the problem, but you can't give up as many points. And I think they go undefeated. I think that they get to the college football playoffs, but for some bad reason, I just still feel like we're going to get beat by Alabama or somebody stupid. So
got it.
Your boy, your boy,
because you're not playing Purdue. So
your boy Nick Saban. You know what? I'll give you this. My buddy at Ohio State, who's like a genius dude at recruiting and stuff. He's the head of player development and recruiting at Ohio State. Mark, he's an amazing dude. He thinks the best Big Ten quarterback outside of Stroud, of course, is O'Connell. He loves that kid. He talks. I know. Last year against Purdue, he was nervous. He's like, brother, this kid can sling a football. He is freaking good. So, you guys got some talent there. So maybe we'll see it towards the end of the season. Can we even? Yeah, you're West, so we can play each other. Yeah, we'll see you there.
Awesome.
All right.
Today. Thanks, Graham.
All right, guys. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, man. Incredible conversation there, I think. Graham, very knowledgeable guy, very smart person. And yeah, we hope you guys enjoyed that. Two good guests in a row here for us. Trying to get more and more people involved, but great to just chat about, everything and even get a little sports talk in there, huh, Joey?
Yeah, absolutely. I know Graham's a huge college football guy, big Buckeye, has the Buckeyes out all the time, whether it's Ezekiel Elliott or what's that quarterback's name? My gosh, it's blanking on me now. Number one, Braxton Miller. Braxton Miller, good friends. I know that he's looking forward to college football. But yeah, I mean, like I said, like Graham, I feel like he's like, and you've kind of hinted to it at least, definitely in your personal life. Like I feel like he's like kind of like the cool uncle of IndyCar, right? Or like the big brother of IndyCar. Like he's the guy that you look up to. He's like the Steve Harrington of IndyCar for those Stranger Things fans out there. That's kind of what I get from Graham Rahal. Smart dude and really enjoyed talking to him. So appreciate his time for sure.
Yeah. I mean, you're exactly right. Definitely like an older brother to me for sure. I spent a lot of time with Graham back in the day. Like it was pretty funny. I mean, he even let me, when my Subaru broke down, he would let me borrow one of his cars. I mean, it was a lot of time spent there and it was pretty cool. Graham, actually funny story that I will tell really quick. Graham took me to like my first ever nightclub. We were definitely underage. And we didn't drink at the time because like we were very like straight arrows. But it was after the Indy 500. I was 18. He might have been 20. You know, he's not that much older than me. And yeah, we went to the Indy 500 after party, probably 2010 or 2010 maybe. And yeah, I'll never forget like seeing Dan Weldon there, a place called Six downtown Indianapolis. I don't know if it's even there anymore, but yeah, went in with Graham. Had an incredible time. Thought it was the coolest thing ever just to be there with the drivers at the party. And yeah, so that's our Graham Rahal story for sure.
now he's expecting baby number 2, and he's a business owner, and he's got more important things to do than dig around with us, but we appreciate his time nonetheless. All right, man. Real quick, SRX, man, summer's flown by. I know you were on 3 of the broadcasts there, doing just an absolutely phenomenal job on the mic. But we got the championship. We got the last race, man, and our guy Marco Andretti, he has been driving his ass off this summer, and he has a chance to lock up an SRX title. How we feeling?
Yeah, no, it was great to watch. I got to see a little bit of it, in Toronto, and Marco has done such a great job. Like the guy has now 3 second place finishes in a row, which obviously second is tough. Like that's a mental battle. But like when it comes down to the championship, like if you're looking at it, he's done exactly what he needs to do. And, he's got a few points ahead of P2 in the championship. And I mean, Ed Carpenter did tell me that the last track that they're going to is tough. It's a tough one. And he thinks Marco, it might not be as easy for Marco there. But realistically, he's just got to think of it in championship formation, right? Stay ahead of P2 in the championship. Doesn't matter if it's, 4th or 5th place, whatever gets you enough points. And, obviously Tony Stewart's going to be fast again on the dirt. We know that. Very curious to see what Dave Blaney and Ryan Blaney do. You know what I mean? That's the Blaney family's now racing in SRX. So that'll be really cool. So there's a lot of great stuff.
Elliott this weekend too?
I don't even know. I think there's a ton of people in it this weekend.
I think
they might have their biggest field yet. I don't even know. Yes, you're right. So I have the field right here. Ryan Hunter-Reay, Paul Tracy, Matt Kenseth, Tony Kanaan, Chase Elliott, Dave Blaney, Ryan Blaney, Tony Stewart, Michael Waltrip, Bobby Labonte, Ryan Newman, Greg Biffle, Marco Andretti. I mean, that's a stacked cast right there. So it'll be great to see all those massive NASCAR names go up against the IndyCar guys yet again. But I think Marco pulls it off. I don't want to, jump in that tank too early, but like it's going to be, I think he's done everything that he needs to do. And it's going to be an interesting Saturday. I hope I can watch it in Iowa because I'm excited to see the cap off of that championship.
Yeah, points as they stand now. Marco Andretti leading the way with 170. Ryan Newman behind him, 162. Tony Stewart, 157. Bobby Labonte, 155. Then Greg Biffle rounds out the top 5 with 130. So like you said, man, stay clean, stay ahead of those guys, and bring home the title there, Marco.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's going to be good. So yeah, we got a lot going on this weekend.
I did ask him real quick. I said, what's the celebration if when you win on Saturday? We doing like New York, Miami? He said he's got a lot down in Miami that he's staying at, so it's going to be Miami, I guess.
Oh yeah. Marco's going to celebrate no matter what, whether he wins or doesn't. So that'll be awesome to be a part of. I won't be able to go obviously because I have a job to do. We're racing until middle of August, it seems like. But yeah, lot covered. It's going to be a great weekend this weekend in Iowa. It's going to be a lot of fun. We got 2 races. We were fast in the test there. NASCAR's off this weekend as well, I believe. So that means that is NASCAR off? I think so. Yeah.
If Elliott's driving SRX.
Yeah, if Chase Elliott's driving. Yeah, if Chase Elliott and Ryan Blaney are doing SRX, NASCAR has to be off this weekend. So I'm excited. I'm excited for a good, just a good, solid IndyCar weekend. And we got to watch. Got to get the people back. I know there were people upset about the Peacock thing, and I don't really want to hear your upsetness because I'm sorry. It is what it is. People say, "Oh, of course, Indy." I saw so many tweets. It's like, oh, and they quoted us a lot too. They're like, "Oh, well, you guys wonder why they're not getting rated. It's because it's on Peacock." I'm like, look, we know that, like, but you have to. I'm sure there are people who hated the fact that NASCAR was on USA Network. You know what I mean? But like, it's just a different avenue. People have streaming services. Anyone that tweeted me angry about Peacock, they probably pay more money for Netflix a month. You know what I mean? They probably pay for certain things a month. Like, we get it. Like, I have like 12 different streaming services now because, again, there's so much stuff that you try to consume. And I'm an IndyCar fan. And you know what? If you didn't want to download it, that's totally fine. But don't be just mad about it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sorry, but like, that's where the world's going. I think in 10 years, you could see every motor racing series on a streaming service. You know what I mean? And guess what? Then it's not going to be so foreign. You're going to be like, well, we complained about it 10 years ago, but now it's going to be great. So I know it's tough. I know people wanted to watch it, and I know I haven't seen any numbers yet. No one released any numbers yet. It makes me nervous. I'm fairly sure not many people watched it, but it is what it is. And we're going to be right back on NBC this weekend. We're going to get a double header, and we're going to be going for the win. Certainly for our camp, we want to get trophies. So I can't wait to get there.
Yeah, dude. Well, I got a busy weekend this weekend at home. One of my best friends getting married on Friday, and then first baby shower for the boy on Saturday. So got a stacked weekend, or else I'd be out there in Iowa because it looks like it's just going to be a blast.
The one thing that I would like to say as well before we get to the Ricky Treadway Random Indy 500 Driver of the Week is, like, no one is doing it on purpose. Like, there are some people that like start throwing things like, why would IndyCar do this to us? It's like, no one is doing it on purpose. Do you think that like IndyCar and like Big Penske is like, yeah, we hate our fans, so we want to make sure that they can't watch races on network NBC? It's like, no, like, that's the dumbest thing I've literally ever heard in my entire life. If you can't for 1 second think that like we, or like our people that are working for IndyCar, don't want people to watch, like, that's absurd. And so sometimes this is business. Like, this is big television. Like, you're dealing with NBC here, who put on, the Super Bowl, the Olympics, like huge things. And everyone is fighting for that TV time. And guess what? Toronto, we couldn't get a window of television. So guess what? We're going to try. We're going to go to Peacock. And guess what? That was like really, it was actually pretty unique when you look at it, because it was really the first top level auto racing series that was purely on a streaming service. So it's very interesting. And I'm sure ABC, CBS, were also paying attention to that. Like, hey, that's really interesting. Like, I'm very curious to see how that worked out for them. So I still think it's a little early for that type of switch, but no one is out to get our IndyCar fans. There's no one at IndyCar is like, oh yeah, I can't wait to like really make everyone hate us for this reason. Like, that is just, it's the dumbest. If you're thinking that, you're wrong, because sometimes it's not everything is going to go our way. Sadly, life is hard. I hate to inform people of that, but life is not easy. And you know what? Guess what we all want? We want 4 different manufacturers. We want 30 car fields. Every driver wants to be making $10 million a year. But guess what? That's not happening. Everyone's working to try to get there, and we're trying to get better. We're trying to do everything as best we can, but everyone else is doing the same thing. NBC has to make sure that they keep their, they keep their business running. You know what I mean? They have 10,000 other sports that they got to deal with as well. So, I know we want to be selfish about it, but we gotta, we have to be supportive of what we got. And we do have more network races than we've ever had. And so let's be excited about that. Now, we will get
Hold on. I do have to put in there about the streaming. I don't know if anybody's been online. There's a lot of football fans. There's a lot of NFL fans. You know what the NFL is doing after next year? They're moving the Sunday ticket to a streaming service. Okay. So that's just the way that everything's going. The biggest sports league and damn near the world, definitely the USA, is moving to that. So that's just how it's going to be. Sorry.
Exactly. Yeah. And so, you know what? Times are changing. Times are changing.
Bob Dylan.
And we are going to get right into our random Indy 500 driver of the week to close out the show. A lot of people love this segment, which is really, really cool. And I went very, very old yet again. to try to. I went to the 1948 Indy 500. Now there's several people in here that we have talked about before. Several names that are already on our list. But I am just kind of, going around, and I was going to find the 33rd place finisher. 33rd place finisher. His name is Harry McQuinn. And Harry McQuinn is currently going into my Googleizing device. We're going to go to his Wikipedia page. Born in 1905. Very old human being. Probably dead. Died January 1st, 1986. But oh wow, he's an Indiana guy, born in Nineveh, Indiana. In several Indy 500s, 1934, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41. And then the war, I think, happened. And then there was 46 and 48. So 1948 was his last Indy 500. But actually, after McQuinn retired, Harry McQuinn, he was appointed the chief steward at Indianapolis and head of the Champ Car division for AAA and USAC. So that's pretty cool. Indiana guy. Again, people will probably be upset for me for not knowing Harry McQuinn, considering he's an Indiana guy, Nineveh, Indiana, and died in Morgantown, Indiana. But that is our random Indy 500 driver of the week this week. Finished 33rd in his final Indy 500.
2 top 10 finishes, both of them being 7th, one in 1938 and one in 1941. How about it, Harry McQuinn? Cool.
So there it is, the random Indy 500 driver of the week. Great to have everyone with us once again this week. Awesome show yet again. We are going to Iowa this weekend. Going to be a great time. We're going to watch it on NBC because we're all great supporters, and we appreciate everyone listening yet again. All the supporters of this show, people that come up to us every weekend in Toronto. It was great to hear from a lot of fans that say they listen to Speed Street. That's awesome to hear. Keep telling us that. Keep tweeting at us. Keep telling us what you think about the races and what we have to say on this podcast. And we'll see you next week on Speed Street.